Hey guys, so a while back I made a video on the M5 explaining everything I had to replace within 1 year of ownership, which ended up being nothing. I just talked about what the previous owner had to do in his ownership. However, with this car, I've not been as lucky. I've had several issues. It's put a pretty bad taste in my mouth. And I'm here to share with you guys like what to look for or maybe what to expect. Not here to make the car sound bad, not here to make this car sound good. I'm just sharing my almost 1 year experience. I will say most of my friends that own these cars have not had any issues with them. They're actually pretty good cars. I'm just one of the unlucky ones, and you know, these are things that can happen. So, the car's got 91,000 miles now. I bought it with 80,000 miles. I bought it in Florida. I drove it 600 miles home. Before I could even get emissions on it, the car throws a increased emissions light and something about the thermostat. So I'm thinking, okay, well, that's not too big of a deal. O2 sensors right there at the exhaust. And then the thermostat's a thermostat. I mean, they're not too crazy. And the shop's like, yeah, $1,200. I'm like, wait, what? Like, that's the last thing you want to hear after buying, like, you know, just buying a car. And that goes to show, I mean, they were saying the thermostat's like a half-a-day job. That goes to show if you buy a luxury, like, you know, foreign car with the luxury tax, please make sure you know people that can work on the car and, you know, not rip you off. You know, these shops are here to make money, and that's just the way business is. They're going to charge a lot. And I luckily have been in the BMW community long enough that I got buddies that can do this for a lot less. So I think my buddy charged me $170 to replace both the thermostat and the O2 sensor. And ECS Tuning carries the thermostat kit. I guess that kind of goes to show how often the thermostat fails on these cars. You know, it's the coolant, the thermostat, and then the O-rings for $140, so not too bad. And then I believe I bought the O2 sensor for like maybe $60. It was on sale. So all total was under $400, and I watched him replace the thermostat. It literally took him like 30 minutes. Super easy to do. I was just too afraid to do it myself. Didn't really have time. And then the O2 sensor, maybe 15 minutes. So that's that. And I will say my buddy Andrew, who's got the white supercharged E92 M3 on my channel, he's got like 90,000 miles as well. And he really drives this car, obviously being supercharged. Original bearings and everything. Only issue he's ever had is that same O2 sensor, which is located right at the cat underneath the passenger side. So something to expect maybe around 80, 90,000 miles. So that was a 2-in-1 combo issue there, 1-2 punch. Then my third issue, this actually left me stranded. I just filmed the Carly video, which is something that goes into your OBD2 port, and the car was in like the power accessory mode for maybe 20 minutes, and I guess it didn't like that. Because when I was done, it was like 2 in the morning, I went to the gym. As soon as I left my driveway, I upshift with the paddle, and it took like 3 seconds for it to shift. I immediately knew something was wrong. And then I think half a mile later, the whole dash lit up like a Christmas tree. The car freaked out and glitched, and it just died as I was going downhill. Luckily, I was able to pull into a little side street. Thank God it didn't happen while I was in an intersection or like uphill, you know, in the middle of the day, because that would have been pretty embarrassing. And so I'm stubborn. I refused to Uber home. I walked back home, came back, jumped it, had to jump it several times because it kept dying, and eventually got it to get home. And so this is kind of quite common on the M5. A lot of people, I've heard them say they've had to replace their alternator, or the shop or dealer will tell you it's the alternator, but it's actually not the alternator, it's the voltage regulator. So that's what I had go bad. These shops will do that just to try and get more money. The voltage regulator, $140 part, took like 30 minutes to do. My buddy Corey did it because he had to replace it on his M5. And it's right there under the car. I mean, it's kind of a pain, but 30 minutes is 30 minutes, not too bad, and it's $140. So that's my third issue. There's more, but wait. The fourth and current issue, and look, it's hot boy summer here in Georgia, man. I'm sorry that I'm sweating, but just bear with me. I mean, I'm in this barn. I figure this would be cooler than me sitting my fat ass on the couch. So, you know, with that in the background, like. So fourth issue, for the past couple months when I turn the car on, the check engine light and the engine malfunction, reduced power will come on, it'll go into limp mode, but luckily it's not permanent. I turn the car off and then back on and it goes away. Still a nuisance, and that's a sign that the throttle actuator is on its way out. So that's thankfully pretty cheap as well. I know they sell rebuild kits for those. I haven't heard of many people having to replace this on their M3, the throttle actuators. I've heard more so on the M5, but not really the M3. So again, you know, not too bad, but that's something that's coming up here soon. I mean, it's been a few months. It's probably gonna happen any minute now, considering it goes away every time. And number 5, we're not done. My 5th issue, this happened on my M5 as well. It's pretty common with M5s, and I guess M3s, since they probably have the same diff, the diff is leaking. It'll leak from the seal, and this is something that's you can easily see if you're test driving your M3. Make sure to look under there, look closely, look if you see any moisture, you know, if it's shiny, because that's something, you know, when these leak, they only leak like once a week, if that, like very small. So it's very easy for the dealer or the person selling the car to just wipe it and make it look like there's nothing wrong if the person's, you know, immoral like that. So make sure you really take a look before you buy it to see, you know, if the diff is leaking, because that's very easy to see. The other stuff you don't really know. That's it. 5 issues. That's it. Within 10,000 miles. Not something I'm proud of, but hey, the car is extremely fun to drive. It sounds great. Awesome driving characteristics. But yeah, I've certainly been one of the unlucky ones here with this one. But I still love it. It's not to scare you away from it. At least now you sort of have an idea of what to expect, what can happen. Not saying it will. So I hope you learned a little something. And if you have any questions, well, I know someone's going to mention the rod bearings. No, I've not replaced the rod bearings on this car. These are the original bearings. I did do the Blackstone Lab oil analysis, and it came back clean, just as it did on my M5, which that I actually did replace the bearings on, which it didn't need it. I kind of wish I hadn't done it. I wish I would have saved the money. There was barely any copper showing after 115,000 miles. So this car, same thing. I'm not too worried about it. But I know many people, that's like their main fear, and I get it. I totally understand that. So but yeah, any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care, guys.